Hi everybody, it's Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world. Today is Thursday, April 18th, and this is Flosstube number 119. And it is once again been about 6 weeks since my last video, and that seems to be the way I'm operating these days. I would really like to film my videos a little bit sooner than that, but it's been very hard to get the willpower and motivation to film. On top of just being busy with life stuff, like even sometimes when I have the time, I just can't get it together and do it. I'm working on it. I will try. I will try harder. I'm still stitching, like I stitch every day. I'm still, stitching a ton. I'm getting a ton done. I'm just not checking in with you as regularly as I would like to. But we will see. We will see if the next video is sooner than 6 weeks from now. But I have a lot to show you because it's been 6 weeks. So I have some finishes. I have some fully finished objects. I finished some things and fully finished them, but then I also got some old stuff out and fully finished it finally. So I've got a lot of that, and I've got quite a few new starts, and I've worked on some things that were older projects. So yeah, basically like this year, I'm just kind of like, I'm really embracing like just stitch what you want when you want. I believe it was Jessie Marie Does Stuff who invented that SWEWE, that acronym. But yeah, last year I was so focused on trying to get my 40 finishes. I didn't get 40. I think I got like 31 or 32, which is still amazing. But, and when I say finishes, I mean, I was trying to finish old whips, works in progress, old things. I actually had 40 or 50 finishes total of things like, that I would, like smalls that I would start and finish, but I was trying to finish 40 old projects and I didn't quite get there, but that's okay. But all of that to say, I wasn't starting things because I was so focused on that. And it was a little bit more structured for me. It wasn't super structured, but that's a little more structured for me. And I don't do well with those confinements. So anyway, I'm just doing what I want. Like I'm just vibing this year. If I want to start something, I'm starting it. If I want to work on something, if I want to dig out an old whip, I haven't wanted to. That's the sad thing. I haven't really felt the drive to dig out those old projects. But if I wanted to, I could. Mostly I just want to start stuff, so I am. Yeah. Just throwing that out there. I'm kind of just going with the flow. There are a few older works in progress that are calling to me just because I've seen other people working on them, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get that out and work on it. But anyway, let me show you what I have been up to. So I will start with some fully finished, I fully finished 2 things. I framed 2 things that I had finished last year, no, I'm looking down at them. I finished both of these last year. Okay, so the first one is an Alforce embroidery kit. It's Baba Yaga, and this came as a kit, and I had bought it like several years back. I haven't purchased from them in some time because of like the sanctions on Russia. I know that there's some workaround where you can pay a lot more in shipping and go through like a third party. I'm not doing all that. So, I haven't bought anything recently, but I have plenty of kits to stitch from Alforce. And now that I got this back out and framed it, I really kind of want to start, another one in this series. So there's 4 kits. There are 4 kits that coordinate. I previously stitched Father Mushroom. I don't have it handy, I'm sorry. And then I have Baba Yaga, and then there's Leshy, and then there's, it's not coming to me. The Vodnoy, it's like on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, there's 4, like they're the same size. they kind of coordinate. And these are like Russian mythic folklore characters. So I used the kit fabric, the kit floss. I really do enjoy their kits. They have really beautiful floss, and they also have, the charts are really big and clear. One thing I have heard about their kits from friends is that sometimes the cut of fabric is not quite as large as you would think. And so I always start in the center on an Alforest kit, just so that I make sure, like, if I do end up with just like a 1-inch margin, that my piece fits on there. I think I had a friend who maybe started like top left and went in like maybe 2 inches, and then didn't have enough fabric like to get all the way across on the pattern. Whereas if she had started in the center, she would have had a tight margin, but she would have been able to fit it. So just keep that in mind. If you're starting an Alforest kit, you might want to do a center start, because I don't think they give like a generous allowance. Now this one, I feel like I had plenty of fabric, but it is a smaller piece. It might be on those bigger ones that they are a little more skimpy. I think this one I can even see, like, I didn't trim it. And I think I had a good like 2 or 3 inches all around on this. But anyway, they are good kits. Just that's something I've heard about them. I haven't encountered it myself, but I have heard. So yeah, this is Baba Yaga. I just finished this in a square frame. I got this at Michael's. It's actually like a shadow box frame. But I just took out the stuff that made it like a deeper shadow box, and framed this up on the actual lip of the frame. And it fits perfectly. And I bought 4 of these. When I found this for the Father Mushroom, I went ahead and just bought 4 so that I could finish them all the same. So now I have 2 of the 4 done. And so I'm very tempted to start another. And they stitch up really quick. They're not large patterns. However, I've also really been wanting to work on Dinosaur Forest, which I've already started from Alforest. So I don't know if I'm going to dig that out or if I'm going to start another one in this series. Just see what the vibes are when I decide to do one or the other. We will see. All right, so my other previous finish that I fully finished is Salem Remembered by the Primitive Needle. So this is, the Primitive Needle charts are out of print. They can be difficult to find. When you do find them, they can be expensive. I'm just throwing that out there because I know sometimes people are like maybe new to the cross stitch world and they see something like this and they're like, oh my gosh, love it, I'm gonna go get it. And then they're kind of frustrated that they can't find the pattern. So this one can be really difficult to find. I think it does come up for sale, but I have no idea what it's going for these days. But I know in the past, this pattern has gone for like $100 or so. I think that can like ebb and flow. I borrowed mine from a friend. I just, no judgment to people who will pay that much, but I won't pay that much for a pattern because I just believe, you know, in my heart of hearts, I just believe if it's meant to be, it'll come to me somehow. And that usually works out for me. Like I said, I'm just vibing this, just living off the vibes. But anyway, I borrowed this pattern. So this is a memorial piece for all of the victims of the Salem witch trials. These are all of the people who, the majority of them were tried and hung for witchcraft. A few of them died in prison. Giles Corey was pressed to death because he refused to enter a plea of innocent or guilty. But he was still a victim of the accusations in the Salem witch trials. So this is stitched on a 40 count linen from the Primitive Hair. It's called Old Massachusetts. It's just like a nice grungy linen. And I used, it only uses 3 colors, and I just used colors from Stash. So the primary color here is a Color and Cotton limited edition floss. It was from a Halloween box. I think it might have been called Witching Hour, but I'm not really sure about that, but it was like a limited edition floss. And then I just used 2 random flosses from Stash for like the burnt orange and the greenish color. And I did make one little change to the chart. So first of all, there was a typo in the chart. So Samuel Wardwell is in the chart missing a W here. So it's charted Samuel Wardell, but that is incorrect. So I just fixed, added the letter and shifted it to center it. But then after I stitched it, I couldn't find a frame. I finally found this frame at a thrift store, and I was like, it's so close. It's just a little too tall for the pattern, but otherwise it's like perfect. And I didn't want to pay a lot for like a custom frame. So finally, what I decided was I was just going to add a little bit to the pattern to make it fit in the frame. So up here at the top, I added in remembrance, and I just used the letters from the chart. And just doing that made it just tall enough to fit perfectly in the frame. So, that took me like 30 minutes to stitch that in, no big deal, but made it so that it would fit in this frame just right. So this is Salem Remembered by the Primitive Needle. So those were 2 previously finished stitches that I finally got fully finished, and it feels really good. Those have just been sitting because I've had the frames ready since like November, since we moved in this house, and like I dug the Owl Forest frame out of storage, and then I quickly after that found the frame for Salem Remembered, and I've just had them sitting here for months and months and months, just like ready to go. I just needed to like stretch and lace the fabrics, and I just finally like made myself do it, and it feels so good to like get that weight off and have that done. All right, so I finished some other stuff. So those were just older things. So these are things that I have finished since the last video and fully finished. Well, actually, let me show you. The first thing is I finished this. It was finished like this year, but I finished this maybe a couple videos ago. So I finally fully finished this. So this is Neon Goth Scornu from Cobweb and Rose. This was in a Starlight Stitchery neon, I think it was called Neon Goth. Yeah. So it was the Neon Goth box. And this was, like I said, from Cobweb and Rose. This was Neon Goth Scornu. So this was a quick stitch, but then it kind of sat around for a while before I finally sewed it into a biscornu. This, I used the fabric that came in the box. It's a 32 count opalescent, and it was dyed. It's probably just looking like a black fabric, but it had more of like a galaxy look to it. That's probably not showing up really well on camera, but and then the floss was from Forbidden Fiber Company and came in the box as well. So I used the fabric and floss from the box and stitched this up. I just love, I'm really into biscornus. I love biscornus right now. And this was a super quick and easy one. And I just loved the look of it in the book. And so I jumped right into that. I think I might have started it like the day I got the box. I love it. I love biscornus. I know people get intimidated by biscornus, but they're not that bad. It took me maybe an hour to sew this together and finish it. Tiny Modernist has a really good biscornu tutorial on YouTube. So there's others too. I'm not saying that's the only one. It's just one that when I, searched like how to make a biscornu, that was one of the first ones that popped up, and I watched it and I really enjoyed it. And I found it to be very approachable. So when people are a little hesitant about a biscornu, I do recommend the Tiny Modernist tutorial on how to sew together a biscornu. And also, Tiny Modernist has a ton of biscornu patterns. So if you are interested in trying one, you might want to take a look over there because she's got a bunch. So that was a previous finish that I fully finished. And then I think the rest I have finished since my last video. So it was Michelle Bendy Stitchy. It was her birthday back in March, and somebody I think it was Michelle Chinook Crafter who like was kind of the ringleader, but she got together a bunch of people and was like, hey, let's all like start something or work on something from Bendy Stitchy Designs to celebrate Michelle on her birthday. Well, that was an easy absolutely for me. I love Michelle as a person, and I love Michelle as a designer, and I have stitched so many Bendy Stitchy patterns. You might have seen on Instagram, I did a reel where I just showed like all the stuff of hers that I've stitched, and it was quite a lot. And then I have a bunch still that I haven't stitched yet. So one that I've had forever, like kitted up, ready to stitch, and just like every year I don't get to it, is Hildy's Strawberry Patch. Now this is actually kind of like a summery design, but it felt spring-like to me as well. So I just went with it. So I finally stitched this, and I used, I believe I used all of the called for colors. I don't think I changed any. And my fabric is, it's a Ship's Manor fabric. It's from years and years and years ago. And it looks like a blue sky with beautiful white clouds. And I just thought that kind of worked for the pattern. So I finished it as the strawberry, and then I found this cute flower. I actually found it at Walmart in the craft section, like where they had like a little trims, primarily stuff for bow making, like for crocheting and making bows. But anyway, they had this flower, and it was like $1 maybe. And so I grabbed that, and I just sewed that on top of my strawberry, and I think it came out so cute. So this is Hildy's Strawberry Patch. Really quick to stitch. Of course, sewing it into a strawberry wasn't a terribly challenging ordeal. That was pretty easy. So it was a quick, easy finish. There it is. And then I stitched, these aren't in any particular order, actually. So for St. Patrick's Day, I got out a pattern that I had bought years ago, 2021. I bought it in 2021, and I'd never gotten around to starting it. It's Whistle Stop Stitcher, Shamrock Alphabet Sampler. So I had also stitched her Christmas pattern that looks similar to this. She's also got a Valentine's Day. I feel like she's got some, maybe she did Halloween. She's got a couple of them. And they're kind of this style where it's like an ABC, but she puts words into the ABCs. So I finally got this out and finished it. This is a mystery linen. It's like a 28 or a 30 count, maybe a 30 count. And I used, the green is a DMC Variations. It's DMC, it's 4047. So it's just one shade, it's just one floss there for the green, but it kind of goes in between several tones of green. And then for the rainbow, I used Threadworks Bradley's Balloon, which is a beautiful rainbow floss. And then for the gold, I just used a DMC metallic. I think it's like a 30, maybe a 3821, just a DMC metallic floss. So I love how this came out. I don't like super repetitive borders, but this one wasn't too bad. Like once I kind of figured out my rhythm, like it wasn't so bad. And overall it stitched up quickly. I need to get this fully finished. Of course I didn't have time to do that, to have it like displayed for St. Patrick's Day, but I did start this around that time. I didn't start it on St. Patrick's Day. I think I started a couple days before. And I think I finished it like maybe the night before St. Patrick's Day. Because I did have a St. Patrick's Day start, which I'll show you shortly, but I have a few more finishes before that. So anyway, that is Whistle Stop Stitcher Designs Shamrock Alphabet Sampler. You can get that on her Etsy. was really fun, and I think it turned out great. Okay, so then I had, so I live near Estes Park. I'm about maybe an hour. Yeah, I think I'm like an hour away. It's just a nice little like day trip for me if I would like to make the trip. Since we moved to Fort Collins in November, we've made the trip once, but that's fine. Anyway, we went up to Estes Park, went and drove around Rocky Mountain National Park, all that. But there's a quilting store up there, and it's called I think it's called the Stitcher's Den, like D-E-N, but that is misleading because it says it's the Stitcher's Den, so you might think cross stitch shop, but it's actually like a quilting and a yarn shop, primarily quilting, and then quite a good selection of yarn. Now, they also do have cross stitch. However, when I was there, and I think this might have been in February, yeah, it was in February, I showed up and all the cross stitch, which was just like a small display, all the cross stitch was 50% off. I was talking with the owner, and she's like, yeah, we're phasing it out. So, you know, they weren't planning to order anything new. It was kind of like, when this is gone, it's gone. So I can't tell you if you're in Estes Park, make sure you go there, because I don't know that they're going to have any stitching stuff any longer. I'm sure by now it's probably mostly cleared out. But anyway, everything was 50% off. So they didn't have a ton of stuff, but they did have some Mill Hill kits, some Bothy thread kits. So anyway, I saw these Jim Shore Mill Hill egg kits, and they were so ugly and weird. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude when I say they're ugly, but I think they're kind of ugly, but in a way that I love them. Like they're so weird that I was like, oh, I've got to get that, especially half off. So it was like $4. So the first one is, they didn't have the whole collection, but they had frog egg. Look at this thing. It is so weird. So there's, I think there's 6 of them. So I had to buy 2. So I was able to buy, let me see. Yeah, I was able to buy 4 of them that day. And then I had to order 2 online just to round out the collection. I had to have the whole collection. And I did, you know, I did pay full price for the 2. So I think the 2 they didn't have were sheep egg and bluebird egg. And some of these aren't ugly. Like, I wouldn't call this one ugly. This one's actually, I think, quite cute. They're all cute, but like some of them are legitimately ugly and some of them are just fine. I think the frog is ugly. And I love it, and that's why I stitched it first. I did get bunny egg, and then I got owl egg, and then I got turtle egg. So I did stitch and fully finish frog egg. So here he is. So you stitch the front and the back, and you sew them together. I did put some stuffing in to give them a little oomph. And then I made a little beaded hanger with the leftover beads. That's frog egg. It was actually the hardest Mill Hill I've ever stitched, in that with the back stitch on, there's quite a lot of back stitch on this, and it made it really hard to read the chart because it was like covering up the symbols, and it's quite like elaborate back stitch. You can see like around his eyes and his like whatever's going on his belly. It was just, it wasn't impossible. It wasn't impossible, but it wasn't terribly fun. It was very easy to like lose your place on the chart too. Hard to see. I just felt like it was hard to see the symbols. It just wasn't usually I have a much easier time with Mill Hill kits, so I felt like this one was a struggle. But I did it. I persevered. I got it done. But I am not in a hurry to do the other 5 because I really did. I had a time with this one. So I'm hopeful that when I do finally get around to working on one of the other ones, that it goes a little smoother, that maybe it's a little easier to read. Maybe it's not as challenging as it. Maybe it was just like particularly this one that was challenging. I don't know. Like I said, it wasn't impossible. It was just a little bit of a challenge. And I was glad. I was very glad when I was done with that. My friend Diana wants this kit. I'm passing it on to her. But good luck, Diana. Good luck. It's doable. It's just kind of a pain. It's kind of a pain. All right. So I have 2 more things I finished. So, I am going to Stitch North weekend 2. It is not this weekend, but next weekend, the last weekend of April. And it's my first like really like big retreat. I've been to like a more casual, like local, private retreat. I don't mean to like repeat myself every video. I think I talked about this last time, but anyway, it was like maybe 30 of us and it was like super, super chill. And we just like, had a conference room at the hotel and it was awesome. It was awesome, but I haven't been to like a full-on retreat. There is a Colorado retreat that I have not been able to do because last year I was on the road. Year before I had like some work thing going on. And then this year I missed the registration. So I hope someday I can get to that one. But anyway, I'm going to Stitch North weekend 2. It's going to be like 200 people. It's a big retreat. And I want to do the smalls exchange. So I stitched and fully finished my small for the smalls exchange. This is called Be Happy, Be like B-E-E, Be Happy. And this is from a designer called Maria Goncalves Art on Etsy. You can get this on Etsy, but I actually found this in Just Cross Stitch magazine. It was in the, I think it was August 2023. It was in that issue. And I was just really drawn to like the colors of this. It's just so like bright and cheerful. I really like the pattern and I just wanted to stitch it. So I got that stitched up. It's on a mystery fabric, but I used the called for DMC. And then I just finished it in this little honeycomb shadow box. I got this at Michael's. And I think it was $1. And it was in the, by the checkout where they have like all the random like crafty stuff by checkout. It was in there. And it just fits perfectly. So that's my small for Stitch North. I'm really excited. I will, of course, oh, hi. I don't know if you can see Arlo on the camera there, but he always gets very confused when I'm filming a video. He doesn't understand why I'm sitting here just talking to myself like a crazy lady. So anyway, I have one more finish and then I will show you a few works in progress. So I love sprouting lupine. I've been aware of sprouting lupine for a while, like at least a year, but for some reason had just never like popped on like buying a pattern and starting it. Probably because last year I just really wasn't starting much. So I would admire, but anyway, this year I finally like got, I got Luna Love and started it and could not stop it. I could not stop until I finished it. Absolutely loved it. Had such a good time stitching that. And now I'm just like a sprouting lupine, like super fan. I love it. So, I also started my Mushy Valentine, but I have not finished that. And then they came out with this pattern, maybe like just within the last couple weeks. And it's called Twilight Nature Walk. And I was like, no, he's trying to get my strawberry. Hold on. Can't. That's not a toy. That's not a toy. Thank you, buddy. Okay. It's my fault for setting that on the floor. Anyway, Twilight Nature Walk. And I just thought this was so beautiful. So I grabbed it and started it. It's a small pattern stitched up really quick. And this is with the called for DMC floss. This is a random piece of linen that I dyed myself. I want to say it felt a little tighter than a 32, but it wasn't quite like a 36. So it might have been a 32 count that like shrunk a little bit. Kind of stitched up like maybe like a 34 count. I did use 2 strands of DMC and I did, you know, got a little crowded on some areas, but it was overall not bad. I'm sorry, there might be a little bit of dog hair on there. Anyway, this is, like I said, all the called for DMC. And I was a little nervous that the fabric was too dark and it wasn't going to show up, but I think it shows up well enough. And I love like the effect. I think it looks super cool. It's like moody and awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. These are my colors. Like, these are my colors. Purples, deep jewel tone, blues, aquas, periwinkle. It's beautiful. So really, I mean, I like the pattern. The pattern's great, but really it was the color palette that like immediately drew me in on that one. I was like, yep, I'm going to need to do that. I'm going to need that. And then it stitched up super fast. So, all right, those were all of my finishes, I think. Yeah. Okay. I have just a couple of new starts and works in progress. So for St. Patrick's Day, I did start this beautiful pattern. This was a market release from Stitchy Pros, Holly at Stitchy Pros. This is Outnumber the Shamrocks. I feel like this is like a really underrated like market release, and that I haven't seen anyone else like freaking out about it the way I am, but I think it's so pretty, and I just could tell like, I could tell there was more to it than just like the cover photo. I was like zooming in on it and I was like, I think that's gonna be just so beautiful in person. It comes with a cottage garden. Well, I bought the cottage garden thread pack. So Holly did create like a thread pack with cottage garden. I got this from Top Knot Stitcher. I got the pre-order with her, and then I got the thread pack with her, with Abby at Top Knot Stitcher. So this was I was so restrained for market this year. I was like, I talked about this last video. I'm just trying really hard not to like go overboard. So I only bought this and the thread pack, and then I bought Bendy Stitchy Designs release as well, which I don't think I have here with me, but I only bought 2 patterns in the thread pack. Anyway, I started this on St. Patrick's Day. So I wanted like an Ireland themed sampler to commemorate my trip that I took, not last fall, but the fall before 2022. Yeah, in September 2022. So I started Ink Circles Reflections of Scotland to commemorate the Scotland part. This is for the Ireland part. I still need to figure something out for England, primarily London. But anyway, this is so beautiful. I love it. I love it. This is stitched with the Cottage Garden thread pack. And this is 40 count Fox and Rabbit flannel flower. This is probably my favorite linen. Oh, all of their linen is so beautiful. I also really, really, really love baked clay. I really love saltbush. I love their linen. I love all of their linens. But I think flannel flower is like just, if I had to stitch everything ever on one flannel, on one fabric for the rest of my life, I would pick flannel flower. Look at it. It's so pretty. Anyway, I did like a floss toss on a few different fabrics, and it just looks so good on this fabric. So I believe I have all the colors in. Yeah, those are all, it's like 5, it's only 5 colors that are used in the sampler, and I've got all 5 of them in there, and it's gorgeous. I love it. I love it. Holly if you're watching this, you might not be because you're, you are busy. But I already told Holly, but I love it. I love it. It was my favorite release from Market. It outnumbered the Shamrocks. I guess, let me read it to you because you probably can't see that on camera. It's an old Irish blessing. So it says, may your blessings outnumber the shamrocks that grow, and may trouble avoid you wherever you go. And I cannot wait to get to this like clitah motif here in the center. It's so pretty. So pretty. The flosses. I love cottage garden threads. I have used them a little bit before. Here are the colors. The five color, no, 6. Is it 6? Is it 5? It's 5. Here are the colors that are used in the sampler. I love them. What I love about these flosses is the variegation is so thoughtful. Like, it just, there's quite a bit of variegation, but it works so naturally. Like the amount. So like this one, Arlo, get down, come on. So like this one, you can see it goes from like this deeper emeraldy bluish green to like a more like yellow green. But the length, this is the length of the floss. And it's just enough that you can see it, and then it kind of changes to the next tone. And it goes back really, like, just very seamlessly. And it's not, you don't get like a huge patch of one. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I feel like it's intentional and thoughtful the way they variegate these flosses. It makes sense. And like as a stitcher, you can appreciate that. And when sometimes you use a product and you're like, whoever made this like is not a stitcher, or, it's like that was almost good, but like I would have tweaked this. And you can just, you kind of can tell sometimes, like, like stitchers created this and it makes sense. It just makes sense. All right. So, I wanted a few projects to take with me to Stitch North that would be like, maybe like fill in or really easy stitching, like something where I don't want anything like intricate, tons of color changes, having to like really squint and focus on a pattern. If I'm even going to stitch at Stitch North, I don't know. I hope I do. But I just wanted something like low stress. So I was looking through my whips. I might take something for a new start, but I have no idea what yet. I need to look and figure that out. But I was looking through my whips to see like, what do I have that I could take with me that would fit that bill? And I decided that I would get out Miss Bingley's Library by Plum Street Samplers, which is an old whip. I started it. It's so old, it has a project tracker. I don't even use these anymore. These are a great project. A great product. I wasn't consistent with using them. So this is from 2021. It was a July new start with my friend Amy. I don't even remember that. Amy, do you remember that? We started this together. I do kind of remember that now. Anyway, this is stitched on 40 count XG design fabric in the color Light Nugget. So I had a good start on this, and I decided what I wanted to do was finish the top part, which is a little bit more fussy, so that at Stitch North I could just focus on that house, which is a lot of that roof, and that house is just fill-in, tons of fill-in. And so I did get this to a really good spot. So I already had like the lady and the books and the chimney. I had the bird and this, like I had most of this done. What I went ahead and did was finish all the like floral urn stuff. And then I got like the outline of the urn and the outline of the roof going. I need to put like some window panes in there, but that's not a big deal. Then it'll just be fill in. So it's in a really good spot to just fill in. I could, you know, if I'm feeling like I'm really sick of fill in, I can move down and like put some windows in, but then go back to fill in. And I'm not messing with like really fiddly vines or flowers. Like I got that out of the way. So I'm not using the called for colors. Well, I might be using some of them. I think maybe a few of them are the called for colors, but primarily I just like grabbed color and cottons from Stash that looked like the color of the photo. And I did change the girl to have like my color hair, but otherwise I don't think I changed anything there. And then I did change the flag. It had like a Union Jack flag. That just didn't make sense for me. I mean, it's a pattern inspired by Miss Bingley from Pride and Prejudice, but that just didn't resonate with me. Nor did I need it to be an American flag. So I just put a Progress Pride flag in there. And that is where I'm at. This is actually like it's on 40 count, but it is quite a small pattern. It's just that house. That house is housing. Let me show you one more time. Like, look how big this house is. So, yeah, that'll take a minute. It's about 100. So the house is about 100 stitches wide by 1, 2, 3. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. By 40 high without the roof, and then the roof is another like 20. So it's about 100 stitches wide by like 60 stitches high, and that's just solid fill in. So not doing the math right now, but it's a lot. It's a lot of stitches. I love the way it's looking though, and I love it. It's just a lot. Okay, I had like the most impulsive new start ever. I'm trying to remember what happened. Like, I think I woke up and was like getting my day going, and I was out like walking Arlo, and I just started thinking about Carolyn Manning designs. And I don't know why. I just started thinking about her and how I love some of her designs. And I was like, gosh, maybe I should start one. I had no business or reason to. I just was thinking maybe I should start one. And then I was chatting with my friend Amy, and she was like, I want a new start. And I was like, oh my God, I was just thinking I want a new start, but I think I want to start a Carolyn Manning. And she's like, oh, she's having a sale. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, she's having a sale on her website. And I was like, well, let me just go browse. And I was like, maybe I won't start one, but maybe just like buying a few will like scratch the itch. Well, turns out I did buy a few, but then I started one that I bought months and months and months ago. So I didn't even start the one I bought that time, but I did decide finally to start. Arlo, hi, I'm sorry. Can you please get down? Please. Thank you. Okay. You're a good boy. I started Persephone, and these are so addictive. They are so addictive to stitch. They're so fun. I could not stop stitching on this. I very reluctantly put it down. I am about 20% done, so not quite a fourth, but I did work until I got like into all the colors. So this is all the called for DMC, and right here is the center. This is the very center of the pattern. So you can kind of envision like, it's a repeated pattern. So you can kind of get a feel for how this is gonna look. This is one of the bigger ones. I think it's maybe 200, maybe, I don't remember. It's one of her bigger ones though. It's a good size pattern. But not quite a fourth done, but 20% done. This is an old 14 count Aida that I got in a witchy stitcher box. I don't know if it has a name. But I thought it kind of, like, the tone of it went with this DMC floss. Obviously it's full coverage. You're not really going to see the fabric when it's done, but I think maybe I'll frame it where you can see a little bit of the fabric, like, around it. So it kind of made sense, to use a pretty fabric and not just use like a plain Aida. I love it. It was, like I said, they're so addictive. They are so addictive to stitch. I can't explain it. They just are for me. I don't know what he's gotten into. Arlo! He needs some attention. Oh, it's snowing today. So yeah, it's snowing today. So we didn't go on like a really long walk like we usually do. Okay, there is Persephone. This was perfect too because Persephone is the goddess of spring, and I started this around the equinox. So there's my little spring stitch. Really fun. Loved it. All right, we're almost done. I think I got 2 more. All right, so I am stitching all of the Zodiac girls from Nora Corbett. She did them all. I've done Aquarius previously, and then I did Pisces during Pisces season. And so Aries season rolled in, and it was time to do Miss Aries. So I did get all of the stitching done, and now I need to do the beads. She is so beautiful. I love the fabric. I'm dyeing all of these fabrics myself. They're all on 28 count Monaco, so that they're all the same size and they can fit in the same size frames. I actually have Pisces right here, so I'll just grab it. They're all going to be finished like this. So 28 count Monaco, dyed myself. And then I'm doing them all like a custom dye to like complement the design, and I think this green just turned out so gorgeous. I love it. So you can, she has no beads yet, but she's still absolutely stunning. I need to get those beads going. Hopefully I'll be doing that very soon. Oh, and they stitch so fast. I did Pisces in like a week. This one, I think maybe it was 5 days of stitching, and it'll probably take me 2 days to bead her, so she'll be a week as well. Certainly some of them might end up taking longer than a week, but I mean, they're really, for me, they're pretty quick stitches. They're about a week. Gorgeous. Absolutely in love with her. I did keep her skin tone as charted, but I will be changing some of them. So I do appreciate, sorry, I keep putting stuff on the floor and then deciding I want to talk more about it. Pisces, I did stitch exactly as charted. She is charted as a woman of color. I so appreciate like the more inclusive skin tones in this series, but unfortunately the bulk of them are still like this 948. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's 948, DMC 948, just the pale tone. And I think like the next several that I bought are that tone. And so while I do appreciate the diversity, I don't want just like 2 darker ones and then the rest are all the same shade of white. So I'm going to tweak the skin tones of just every shade, you know, like, I don't know yet what tones, but I'm just going to have a mix of all different skin tones, because I'm doing 12 of these. So just so that they all have like a different look to them. So for Aries, I just wasn't mentally in the space to try to figure out a skin conversion when I started her. And she, I mean, she's gorgeous as is. So I just went with the charted, but I will be changing some of them for sure. Is she not just so fabulous? I mean, she doesn't even have beads yet, but look at that face. Like, that attitude. She is serving. This is Aries for sure. This personality. I love my Aries. I love my Aries folks. All right. One more. So, I've been doing the Nora Corbett Zodiac Girls as like the signs come up, which that then motivated me to get out an old stitch along from Tiny Modernist, the Zodiac signs. I had started this and then kind of abandoned it for quite a while. So now I'm getting this out and stitching the signs as they occur so that I'm doing 2 Zodiac stitch alongs basically. One of my own making and one old one from Tiny Modernist. So this is a 14 count Aida that I dyed myself. And I went ahead and I got Aries in this round. So you can see I already did Leo, Virgo, and Capricorn down here. So later in the year, I will get a little break because those are already done. And I think I had Aquarius done last year. So this year I have done Pisces and Aries. These are the charted DMCs, except for on the border, it was charted for DMC, but I'm doing DMC Diamond metallic thread, and which it's a lot, but it is easier to work with than the DMC metallics. Let me show you what it looks like in case you've never seen it. I've seen this for sale primarily at Michael's. I'm sure you can get it several places, but I think I got these at Michael's. So DMC Diamond comes on a spool like this. And it comes in 2 sizes. There is just like the regular one. And I use 2 strands, just like a DMC. And then there's Grande, which is a big fatter, it's a fatter one. So just be careful if you're buying this, that you get the one you want, because I wasn't paying attention. I ended up buying like one of these in Grande, and it was like, I was like, why is this floss so like fat? Like it's not working right. And I realized my mistake and went back and bought the correct size. Anyway, this is easier to use than that traditional DMC metallic floss, like for sure. It's still metallic, so there's still some struggle. It's not great. It's not perfect. It's not wonderful. But it is easier to use the DMC metallic for sure. I love how this is looking, and I'm really excited that I'm actually like getting some progress on this again. So that is, I think that's my stitching. That's all my stitching. We did it. All right, that's all the stitching stuff. So I'm gonna talk about some books. So if you don't care to stay and listen to the book talk, no worries. You can leave now, and I'm not gonna talk about stitching anymore. I'm just gonna talk about books. So, obviously it's been 6 weeks. I've read a lot of books. I decided to like save myself some grief, I'm just going to talk about the books that I have physical copies of here with me. It actually works out because the books that I have been listening to on audiobook and reading on Kindle Unlimited, or just on my Kindle, they are primarily series. And so I decided, you know what I'll do is I will just talk about those like when I finish the series, because I'm kind of like binging some series. And so it's not that I'll never talk about them. I'll talk about them later, hopefully when I don't wait 6 weeks to film a video. But I am deep in like some rereads of some series, and I am reading like some new to me series, but I'm just like, I'm binging through the series. So I will talk about those later. All that to say. So let me just talk about some stuff I've read recently that I actually have here so that I don't have to edit in a whole bunch of photos, because I hate that. I'm sorry. I'll do it. I will. But like, it's really annoying to edit in photos. And so it's just easier if I don't have to do that. So let's not do that. We're not going to do that this time. All right. So I read The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. This is a book that I bought like when it came out ages ago. And just like never got around to reading it. It's just, I mean, you can see all these books books I have, it takes me a while sometimes to get to them. I buy them because I want to read them. I just don't always get around to it. Well, somebody sent me a message on Goodreads, and the funny thing was they sent this message like in October, and I don't check my Goodreads really. I literally use Goodreads to mark what I'm reading and to mark when I finish, and I put like a star rating. That's it. I don't write reviews. I don't really like actually do anything on Goodreads. It's literally just like a book tracker for me. I know there's a bunch of other functions on there. I just don't use them. Not because there's anything wrong with them. I just haven't used them. So anyway, I was on Goodreads and I saw like in the corner that I had like a message. I was like, what? Oh, and I opened it and it was from October, which is hysterical. But anyway, somebody messaged me and was like, hey, I just finished reading this book, and it just like, I thought to myself, like, you would really like this book. So just letting you know, like, I think you would like this book. And I was like, I own it. I've been meaning to read it. I also think I would like that book. But like, thank you for the message. I'm going to go grab it off my shelf right now, and I will read that next. So I did. So thank you to the person who messaged me. I actually really loved this book. So this is I guess it's a romance. It's a contemporary, slightly fantastical romance, because obviously like it features witches, but it's like kind of in like it's in our world, and it doesn't feel like super overly like a fantasy novel. It feels more like a contemporary romance. However, it's a little bit light on the romance. So I actually think this is a great book if you don't like the super smutty romance that I usually recommend, or if you don't like, I don't know, if like you like a little bit of romance, but not like super romantic books, this is great because there is a romance. It does happen, but it's not like the like bread and butter of the story. But this features a witch who is solicited to come basically be like almost like a nanny for 3 young witches who are orphaned and living in this like remote country manor with their caretakers. And their caretakers are not witches, and they don't know how to help these girls with like their magic that's manifesting. So what is her name? Mika. Her name's Mika. It's been a while since I read this, sorry. So they get a hold of Mika and they're like, can you come help us? And she's like, well, I got nothing else going on, I guess. Now, witches are secret. They are hidden. The way they find her is explained in the book. Anyway, she shows up to help these orphans with their magic. And then like she falls in love with one of the caretakers, etc., etc. But it's a very charming, very cozy book. I really, really enjoyed it. It's got that like found family aspect. Mika has been alone and she's been kind of transient, moving from place to place. She hasn't had a stable family or like home or love. And she's just, she's suffering for it. And so she finds this home, which is very sweet. And, Arlo, what are you doing? Yeah, don't do that. I should cut this out, but I probably won't because that will be more editing for me. I don't know what he just got into. Anyway, very sweet, very cozy, funny. I really enjoyed this. It to me, it's like a bridge between like literary fiction and romance. It doesn't read like a silly rom-com, but it does have like a romance at the heart of it. Yeah, I really, really love this. I do recommend, highly recommend, really enjoyed this. So then I read a historical romance. It had been a while since I'd read a historical romance novel, and I was just in the mood for it. This is The Princess Stakes by Amelie Howard. And what drew me to this one is it's not pirates, but like I was promised like adventure on a ship. So that's why I grabbed it. But this one was just okay. It was fine. It wasn't great. It wasn't overwhelmingly like wow. Wasn't bad. Just kind of forgettable. Not so much pirates or action or adventure at sea. A little bit of stuff happening at sea. But this features Sarani is an Indian princess. Her father is murdered like in a coup, and she has to flee because she will be murdered as well, right? As like the heir to the throne. So she flees and like stows away on a ship of this duke. Yeah, the duke is also like a ship captain. Why not? And anyway, they have like a history. It's a whole thing. They had previously kind of had a history. She broke his heart. So it's like a second chance romance. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to keep it, like, because I'll never reread it. It got a little bit slow. It was readable. It was fine. It just was not super remarkable. I was a little underwhelmed by this one. I do still love a good historical romance, and I need to get into some of my like tried and true that I know I will love. All right, so then I read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. Now this is another one that there's a little bit of a romance to it, but I wouldn't really call this like a romance novel. This is more just like a contemporary fiction. But there is a little bit of romance in there. And I heard about this from like watching my romance booktubers that I like to watch. But anyway, this is also very cozy, very charming, very delightful. I really love this one as well. So this features, it's set, like it's historical, but I don't know if we actually have like a date. It feels like early 1900s, maybe. Like, I don't know exactly when it's, oh yes, I do. It is 1909. It is set in 1909. So anyway, this Emily Wilde is what's the word? She's not an archaeologist. She's a Cambridge professor. And she's like a scholar of fairy lore. And in this world, it's our world, but like we know that fairies exist, but they're still elusive and secretive, and we don't know a lot about them, and we don't have a lot of interactions with them, but we do know that they're like legitimately a thing. So she is a researcher who like tries to track them down, find out their customs, their ways, all those things. She travels to a remote village in Iceland, or it might be it's a fictional place. Not Iceland, but it's like somewhere like Nordic, Arctic, somewhere like that. She travels there to research their local fairies. And her fellow Cambridge professor ends up like showing up and crashing and being like, I'm here to help. And they have like this kind of contentious relationship. Like they're friends, but they're also kind of academic rivals. And she is like super grumpy, antisocial, curmudgeonly, and he's like sunshine, social butterfly, charming, and he is like obsessed with her, and she is it's so funny because she's just like could care less. But anyway, he shows up and like crashes the party, and they get into like some adventures and doing the research with the fairies. But it's very funny. It's very charming. It's this small, cozy town with like a lot of interesting local characters, and the writing is really, really good. And I really love this book. I actually like told my friend Amy, like, you need to go get this book at the library. I'm like loving this book. So she actually just got it. I don't know if she started it yet, so she's gonna have to let me know how she likes it, but I loved it. Highly recommend. A second one is out. I don't have it yet. And I've heard people are loving that one just as much as the first one. It was really, really good. So then I read, I was like still wanting that pirate romance that I didn't get from my other book. So I grabbed Hunt on Dark Waters by Katie Robert. This came out, I think earlier this year or late last year, maybe around Christmas. Yeah, I think it came out in November. Anyway, I bought it immediately, but I hadn't gotten around to reading it yet. But this is Katie Robert. I talked about her last video. She cranks out these smutty romance novels. She is a very prolific writer, but I do think her writing always has like a good quality to it, even though she does write really quickly. So anyway, this is the pirate romance I needed in my life. It's like the morally gray, dark pirate romance. So this features a witch named Evelyn who enters through like a time portal, or not a time portal. She enters like a portal and finds herself in this world called, I can't remember what it's called. It's got a name, but it's the Threshold. The world is called Threshold. And it's like kind of like it's a world that like is a system of portals to get you to all these other worlds. And Threshold is dominated by these, like basically this pirate group. It's a Welsh term, so I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, but it's the Quinanwen. And they, if they find you, they like press you into service on their ship or they kill you. So they find her and they're like, join up or die. And she's like, no, thank you. But they're like, no, you have to join up or die. So she's like, fine, I'll join your pirate crew or whatever, but I'm going to escape like the first chance I get. Well, of course, the captain of the pirate crew and her, like, sparks are flying immediately. So it's their little romance as she's like, you're my enemy, and she's trying to escape, like, but they're also falling in love. The one complaint I've heard about this book is it felt like too insta-lovey, and I can kind of see that, but I didn't really mind. But definitely there's, it's like that instant attraction, and like he is like down bad for her, like immediately. So I guess it is insta love, but I didn't really mind. It worked for me in this book. And it's a fun, silly pirate romp. Like, it doesn't have to be that serious, So I actually really enjoyed this. I do understand why some people maybe like didn't love it, but I had a great time with it. And there's a sequel coming soon, and I'm excited about it. I love Katie Robert. She could do no wrong in my eyes. All right, so then I read this like kind of viral sensation. This is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. This is a contemporary romance novel, straight romance novel, like not fantasy or witchy or anything like that. It's just like normal people, but make it cowboy. But what I like about this series, as well as the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver, is these are Northern cowboys. So these are Wyoming cowboys, and Elsie Silver's series are Canadian cowboys. Something hits a little different for me. Those like Wyoming, Canada cowboys. They're a little less yeehaw, and more like ranchers, like I don't know. It works better for me personally. It's just my own weird hangups. So anyway, these are Wyoming cowboys, but this is, the main character is a barrel racer, and she has an injury and she cannot get back up on the horse. She's like terrified. She's having panic attacks. So she like returns home with her tail between her legs, and her brother's best friend is there, and they've always had this like this relationship of like antagonizing each other and like not getting along. So she shows up back in town and she's like, oh God, this guy, and he's like, this little brat. But like the sparks start flying. But essentially he helps her to like work through her stuff and like get back up on that horse. But they fall in love and all that. This was really fun, so easy to read. That was like the thing I noticed immediately. Like, some authors have like that voice to their writing that you can just like sink right into. And it was just so easy to read. So I just like I flew through it. But it was also entertaining, fun, super sexy. Like really like good, spicy smut in this one. But I did love this, but I'm so excited about the third book. So I have the second book. The third book isn't out yet, but the couple that's in the third book, you meet them in this book. They're not a couple yet. But you're introduced to the characters and you can tell like there's something going on there. And the third book is going to be like their book. And I cannot wait because I was just so fascinated by these two characters. So it's her best friend and her older brother have this like this chemistry, and they're gonna get their love story in the third book, and I can't wait. I'm so excited about that. Also excited about the second book though. I'm gonna read that soon. All right, almost done. So then I read Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. I know it's not a romance novel. Who is she? This is just a book that I read it like way back when. It had been a long time, and I was just in the mood to reread. And I looked on my library like audiobooks, and it was available like right away. So I was like, all right, that sounds good. I'm gonna download that. I'm gonna check that out. So it's read by Anthony Bourdain. So I do love a memoir that's read by the author, especially when it's somebody who was like so entertaining and had that like personality. So yeah, this is a classic. It's basically just a memoir about his life as his earlier life in the as a chef in the industry. When it was released, it was, quite groundbreaking, and he was dropping all this knowledge, like never buy fish at a restaurant on Monday because it's the oldest fish they have, they're gonna throw it out that day. And it was like all these like industry secrets and these dirty little stories, which now are not so like revelationary. That's not a word. Is that a word? Revelatory. These are things now like we just know, but at the time it was, he was like this like rock and roll character. He was such an interesting, amazing like character. If you're not aware, Anthony Bourdain did unalive himself a few years ago now, but was quite famous, hosting like various TV shows. But anyway, this book is, just his early days, talks about like his drug addiction. I don't know. I thought it was fascinating, and it aged pretty well. Like there are a few things that like maybe didn't age so great. But yeah, I thought it was riveting. I mean, it's not a long audiobook. I think it's like 8.5 hours. And I always listen to mine like sped up a little bit, but I just like tore through this in like 2 days. And was entertained the entire time. So, if you've never read Kitchen Confidential, like it is a classic. And if you can get the audiobook that he reads himself, like even better. It's great. It was great. One more book to talk about. I read Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mehrer. This is a contemporary romance novel with a little bit of a fantastical element. This came out last year sometime, and I bought it. Like I remember, like I hunted this down. Like I wanted this book so bad, and then like of course never read it. That's how I am. I'm like, I have to have this book. This book came out. I've got to get it right now. And then I would read it 2 years later. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, this book is interesting because it has really mixed reviews. Like, people really like love it or hate it. And a lot of people do not like this book. And that's probably actually why I hadn't read it. So I was really excited about it when it came out. And then it just like was kind of getting bad reviews. And I was like, okay. So maybe that's why I've hesitated to read it. I'm pleased to say I really enjoyed this book, and I don't know why everybody hates it. So anyway, it features, so Evie is the main character, and she is living in this small village in this fantastical country. And a villain moves into the woods near the village and starts like terrorizing the kingdom. Well, Evie ends up like down on her luck, needs a job, and she ends up falling into a position working for the villain. And like, turns out he's not as bad of a guy as like maybe he's been made out to be, but he is still kind of a bad guy. And that was what was really fun about this book, was there's like this morally grayness to it, because it's like he definitely does some like villainous things, but some of it is justified. And you're like, okay, well, And then he also like fully embraces like, yeah, I'm kind of an asshole. That's kind of my thing. And she's like, I kind of don't hate that about you. I thought it was a fun dynamic, but maybe that's also part of why people didn't like it. I don't know. I thought it was really funny. It was really compelling. It's easy to read. It is a very slow burn romance, and you aren't even going to get like a satisfactory like declaration in this book. Like, he is down bad for her, and he does admit it like to himself. He's like, oh my God, I think I'm in love with this girl. But like, he doesn't tell her. Sorry, mild spoiler. But even like at the conclusion of this book, he has not admitted those feelings to her, just to himself. It does end on kind of a little bit of a cliffhanger. Like, it's going to be a series. But so you're not going to get like that full like satisfactory like romance, but the pining and the angst is there, and it's a very slow burn, and I was like eating that up. So yes, I can enjoy a romance novel that doesn't even have smut in it. I can. No, I thought it was really funny. I thought it was really quirky and fun. I don't know why people don't like it, but I can tell you that like a lot of people do not like it. So I don't think those people are like crazy, because there are a lot of them. So I can tell you that I liked it. I think what I've read is like people are like, it's too cringy, like who talks like this, like that kind of stuff. And this is something I've noticed. This is like, sometimes there are these like kind of fantasy romance settings that maybe feel like historical. Like it does feel like it's a more of a historical setting, but they use kind of modern language. And I know that some people like just cannot stand that. It doesn't bother me. It's fantasy. Like, it's not that big of a deal. So I had a really good time with it. I actually had a lot of fun with this book, and I will definitely get the next one. But I did want to throw that out there, that this is mixed reviews and a lot of people don't like it. I don't know why. I loved it. I had a great time. So that was my final book to talk about. All right. Whew. I feel like I'm like losing my voice. I've been talking so long. So that is it. That's it. That's all of it. All right. I never know how to end these. All right. I'm leaving. Bye.